Torracat vs Incineroar, Naganadel vs Lucario, and Pikachu vs Tapu Koko. We got incredible matchups in Ash and Kukui's exhibition match after Ash Ketchum became Alola's first champion. An exhilarating battle with tons of back and forth and strategic plays. Ash may have been victorious in this battle and defended his champion title, but was this really the best team for the job? Hey Pokemon champions, I'm Champion Blaze, and Ash's Alola team was the team that allowed him to finally win a Pokemon League and become champion. In today's installment of the Ash Ketchum Best Team series, we'll create the absolute best team that Ash Ketchum could have used to defeat Kukui. Some Pokemon will stay, some will be removed, and some are in a gray area. Now let's see which Pokemon I'll add to this team for Ash to take down Kukui. Let's get started. When making the best team for Ash to use against Kukui, it's actually a little different than normal with these teams, as Kukui is only in possession of 5 Pokemon on screen, being Incineroar, Venusaur, Empoleon, Braviary, and Lucario. He technically has a 6th Pokemon ready to go, but we never see it because Tapu Koko interrupts the battle to fight alongside Kukui. So when making this team, I technically can't choose Pokemon that I know would have a type advantage against Tapu Koko, as it wasn't intended for Ash to battle Tapu Koko. So let's dive into the rest of the team building parameters. This team of course will need to be well balanced and have type diversity, whether that's 6 Pokemon all with different typings, a wide variety of coverage moves among all 6 Pokemon, or having the least amount of overall weaknesses among all 6 Pokemon. I can only consider Kukui's 5 known Pokemon when making this team. Like I mentioned earlier, Ash and Kukui didn't expect Tapu Koko to intervene the way it did. So if a Pokemon is on the team, it has to be with the intent to counter an actual member of Kukui's team. For instance, if I were to choose Talonflame, it would be because moves like Flame Charge and Brave Bird help in taking out Lucario and Venusaur, but its Steel Wing just so happens to be good against Tapu Koko, and its Fire typing will resist Tapu Koko's Fairy type attacks. I can also only use Pokemon that Ash has access to up until Sun and Moon, so no Pokemon from Pokemon Journeys will be allowed, nor will I include any released Pokemon like Goodra and Greninja. And lastly, I need to mention Naganadel. Naganadel is a wild card here for this team because had it not returned to help with the Guzzlord invasion, Ash would have only had 5 Pokemon, so he would have had to ask Professor Oak for a 6th Pokemon to send over. But since it did return and got the okay from Kukui to be in the battle, I'll create this team with Naganadel in mind and then give my thoughts on which Pokemon should replace it had it not returned. With these team building parameters covered, let's jump in to the team. Of course, to make this team, we have to start with Pikachu, Ash's #1 partner. Seeing as how Pikachu is ultimately the one that defeats Tapu Koko in the final Z-Move showdown and finally defeats this Island Guardian, I couldn't leave it off the team. Ash and Pikachu's relationship developed so much throughout Sun and Moon, far beyond just growing in battle. They got to take in the sights of Alola, its culture, and really get to make this place their second home. This is why during their final clash with Tapu Koko, they can feel the power of Alola flowing through them, giving them the boost they need to take down the Island Guardian. Even prior to this, Pikachu's battling skills are unmatched, as it's defeated the likes of Blaine's Rhydon, which it had a type disadvantage against, Claire's Gyarados, Brandon's Regis, Gladion's Silvally, Alon's Tyranitar, and Alon's Metagross within the same battle, Karina's Mega Lucario, and even Tobias's Latios. Pikachu has insane victories under its belt. Pikachu has been there since day 1, and with its speed and power, it's a no-brainer to put on this team. On top of it, Pikachu and Tapu Koko have also had this rivalry going since the beginning of the Sun and Moon anime, when Tapu Koko first gave Ash his Z-Ring with Electrium Z. Tapu Koko was always interested in Ash and would test his and Pikachu's strength time and time again, so it's only fitting that we keep Pikachu here to finish this rivalry once and for all. And I don't think I even need to mention its signature Z-move of 10 million volt Thunderbolt either. That move is insane. On top of it, Pikachu's Iron Tail is also a fantastic matchup against the Electric Fairy type to deal super effective damage, and it's even got Electro Web to trap Tapu Koko as well. Pikachu is also of course probably his best counter for Kukui's Empoleon as well. With all this in Pikachu's favor, Ash's best partner headlines our team. Our second team member will be the Ultra Beast Naganadel, and this is the only member from Ash's Alola team that will be making it onto our roster. So this means Torracat, Melmetal, Lycanroc, and even our God Rowlet will not be on this team. Now just relax, I can hear you angrily typing in the comments. Now while I would love to include these amazing Pokemon in our lineup, they just don't have the credentials to be on this team, at least when it comes to this battle. Let's start with Melmetal, as this is Ash's Alolan Pokemon with the least amount of battling experience outside of Naganadel, and it only has 2 moves, being Flash Cannon and Double Iron Bash. So for one, it doesn't even have 4 moves, and it's got no coverage to speak of since it only has stab steel-type moves. It might be a mythical Pokemon, but that doesn't mean much when you've barely battled and only just recently evolved and have 2 moves. It also only takes out Empoleon and then goes down to Blast Burn from Kukui's Incineroar. And speaking of Incineroar, next we have Torracat. Now I know this battle was the conclusion to Torracat and Incineroar's rivalry throughout the series, but Torracat was literally only here to battle Incineroar and then take down Venusaur. It does nothing else this entire battle, and when making a best team, I need a Pokemon that can go up against as many Pokemon as possible. Then there's Rowlet, and while he is our god, he too also doesn't do much in this battle. Rowlet only scores a win against Braviary. Rowlet is also unevolved, and while that's not necessarily a bad thing as it was able to defeat its final evolved form Decidueye in Ash's battle against Hau, a fully evolved Pokemon would be much better to have on the team. And lastly we have Lycanroc. I know, I'm cutting the Pokemon that made Ash Ketchum a champion, but in all seriousness, Lycanroc actually does nothing in this battle. It gets a bit of damage on Incineroar with Stone Edge and then loses to Braviary, a Pokemon which it has a type advantage against. Now I'll cut Lycanroc some slack as that impact from Skydrop was absolutely mad, but it still doesn't change the fact of how little Lycanroc actually did. Plus all 4 of these Pokemon desperately need some coverage in their movesets as all of them basically have stab moves except with Lycanroc having counter and Torracat having revenge. I love the Alola team, but we're trying to create the best team and these Pokemon aren't just going to cut it. But now why does Naganadel make the team out of all these Pokemon? Firstly, Naganadel's typing is far superior to everyone else's, being a poison dragon type, which makes it resistant to grass attacks from Venusaur, fire attacks from Incineroar, water attacks from Empoleon, and fighting attacks from Lucario. It resists 4 out of 5 of Kukui's Pokemon, plus electric attacks from Tapu Koko. It can use X-Scissor against Venusaur, Thunderbolt against Empoleon and Braviary, and Sludge Bomb is good to take down Tapu Koko. Naganadel has also shown its strength by taking down Kukui's Lucario. Plus it's an Ultra Beast, which instantly makes it a strong Pokemon. On top of it, its speed and power are wild. Naganadel had no problem keeping up with Tapu Koko's speed and power. Naganadel's battling debut at the Alola League is just as great as Kingler's debut at the Indigo League. For being an Ultra Beast, having a great typing, one of the best movesets out of any of Ash's Pokemon, and having the power and speed to match a legendary Pokemon, it's an easy decision to add Naganadel to this team. And since it did return, I'm counting it on the official team. But now, who will be the remaining 4 Pokemon we add to the lineup? Let's continue building our team with Infernape, the GOAT from Ash's Sinnoh team. A veteran of these Ash Ketchum best teams, Infernape has done a remarkable job solidifying itself as one of Ash's absolute best and strongest Pokemon. It's always shown incredible fighting spirit, strong will, and determination. Being a reliable Pokemon, it was used in all of Ash's gym battles aside from his battle against Crusher Wake because water types, and helped him pull out wins time and time again. Infernape also allowed Ash to finally overcome Paul and defeat him at the Sinnoh League as it defeated Paul's dominant Electivire. Infernape of course has access to its insane Blaze ability as well, giving a tremendous boost in power when it reaches the absolute limits of its strength and endurance, which would be a big help in this battle. Infernape would be a good match against Incineroar with Mach Punch, Venusaur with Flamethrower and Flare Blitz, Lucario for the same reasons, and also against Empoleon with Mach Punch. Plus having Dig is an added bonus to deal with all 4 of these Pokemon too. Infernape and Incineroar could even go head to head with both of them activating their Blaze abilities in a fiery showdown even fiercer than Torracat versus Incineroar. And if Infernape needed to, I believe it could hold its own against Tapu Koko. In Pokemon Journeys, it took a direct hit from Moltres and was still standing. We know it trains while it's at Oak's lab, so I'd imagine even in Sun and Moon, it would be able to take some hits from a legendary Pokemon, so Infernape is making the team. Now we have a new Pokemon making its best team debut, being Hawlucha from Miss Kalo's team. Hawlucha truly has a fighting spirit like no other, much akin to that of Ash's Infernape and Buizel. Hawlucha was even the champion battler of a forest before Ash caught it after helping it master its flying press technique to make it more effective. Hawlucha battled in almost half of Ash's Kalos gym battles and was the one responsible for Ash's busted Trick Room shenanigans with X-Scissor. What is this, the Indigo Saga? Hawlucha has mostly fighting type moves being High Jump, Kick, Karate Chop, and Flying Press, but it also has X-Scissor as previously stated. These moves allow it to deal powerful damage to 4 out of 5 of Kukui's Pokemon, being Incineroar, Venusaur, Lucario, and Empoleon. I could see Hawlucha coming out onto the battlefield with its Luchador ensemble similar to Rowlet's Decidueye costume and just wrecking Kukui's team in the same way as Infernape could, but Hawlucha would struggle with Braviary and Tapu Koko since Braviary has Skydrop and Rock Slide and Tapu Koko has Fairy and Electric moves. But with Hawlucha's fierce determination and strong battling style, it would be all fired up in a battle against Kukui. Another veteran will be joining the team, being Krookodile, Ash's Unova ace from Black and White. Krookodile is absolutely essential to this team. We've got new typings with Ground Dark, and a whole new array of moves that we can use. Dig and Stone Edge take care of Incineroar, Dig and Aerial Ace take care of Venusaur, Dig takes care of Empoleon, although Ash would have to be careful. Dig also takes care of Lucario, again caution on that one, and Stone Edge takes care of Braviary. Krookodile again comes in and shows why it's a veteran, as it's able to take care of every single one of Kukui's Pokemon, and that doesn't even include Tapu Koko. But Krookodile is so good it can handle Tapu Koko too by using Dig. However, Krookodile is also weak to Tapu Koko's fairy type attacks as well, but also immune to its electric attacks. Krookodile put on a great display of strength and power in Ash's Icirus City gym battle against Bryson and was instrumental in defeating Stefan in the Unova League. Krookodile also has the power to defeat pseudo-legendary Pokemon like Iris's Dragonite as well, and it's got even more coverage with a move like Dragon Claw. Krookodile is a sly beast behind the shades with one of the best movesets out of any of Ash's Pokemon, right up there with Naganadel. It is a resilient fighter that deserves to be on this team. Now we've covered 5 of the 6 Pokemon for this team, but before I reveal the final team member, I've got a few honorable mentions I'd like to discuss as well. The honorable mentions here will be Snorlax, Heracross, and Talonflame. Snorlax is a heavy hitter that is always reliable and one of Ash's MVPs. After being caught in the Orange Islands, Snorlax would go on to help Ash with many battles, such as against Claire in his Blackthorn City Gym battle, against Gary in the Johto League, even taking down Greta in the Battle Frontier and helping out in the Sinnoh League. It's a heavyweight, a tank, access to recovery and rest, its signature Body Slam, and even Protect, Hyper Beam, and most notably Ice Punch, which helps against Braviary and Venusaur. Then we have Heracross, which is a fantastic counter to Incineroar, Venusaur, Empoleon, and Lucario by using Mega Horn and Focus Punch especially, but we need to watch out for Braviary. It's so strong it can endure direct fire attacks, including Fire Blast, and shake it off and keep battling. Its Horn attack can be devastating, and this underrated Johto Pokemon would be a strong choice against Kukui. The last Pokemon here is Talonflame, which is a great counter to Kukui's Lucario and Venusaur. Using Flame Charge and Brave Bird would be able to go toe-to-toe with Braviary, and nicely enough could use Steel Wing to counter Tapu Koko. Plus its fire type resists Dazzling Gleam and Nature's Madness from Tapu Koko. Talonflame was a Pokemon that was used in darn near every single gym battle that Ash had in Kalos, and has plenty of experience to back up a spot on this team. But with the honorable mentions covered, let's see what the final Pokemon on the team is. The final team member will be a Pokemon making their best team debut, Staraptor from Ash's Sinnoh team. Regardless of my feelings towards Ash's Sinnoh team and the Diamond and Pearl anime, Staraptor is an incredible bird with tons of fighting spirit, strength, and resilience. Coming packed with Brave Bird, Close Combat, Aerial Ace, and Quick Attack, it can easily counter Incineroar, Venusaur, Empoleon, and Lucario. Staraptor is a master of the skies and was able to defeat Paul's Honchkrow in a Poké-Ringer contest, and defeating Paul's Pokemon isn't easy to achieve. So I believe Staraptor will be able to go head-to-head with Kukui's Braviary as well. Staraptor would have a hard time stacking up to Tapu Koko, but it's also never challenged a legendary Pokemon. It's been used to help Ash in gym battles against Gardenia, against Maylene, and against Candace as well, even coming out victorious in the Ice-type gym. Staraptor's raw power and strength also allowed it to break free from Gastrodon's Body Slam in the Sinnoh League to avoid getting hit by Water Pulse. It's one of the best Sinnoh Pokemon, and if Ash adds this to his team against Kukui, he will have a much easier time winning this battle. But what if Ash didn't get to use Naganadel? Naganadel was off-world in another dimension at the time of the Guzzlord attack. Thankfully, it did return to help. But what if it never did? Ash would be stuck with 5 Pokemon to challenge Kukui. So which Pokemon would Ash get from Professor Oak? I think Ash should add Gliscor to his team. This may give Ash 2 fighting types, 2 ground types, and 2 flying types, but the various moves that these Pokemon are capable of using, on top of them each having different weaknesses, more than makes up for these types overlapping. Gliscor was a battler full of heart and will that went from a scared fighter to one that was ready to challenge any Pokemon. It's also got a fantastic moveset being X-Scissor, Fire Fang, Giga Impact, and Stone Edge. If Ash adds Gliscor to his team in the absence of Naganadel, it allows him to have another Pokemon that can deal with 4 out of 5 of Kukui's Pokemon. It can use Stone Edge on Incineroar and Braviary, Fire Fang on Venusaur and Lucario, X-Scissor also helps on Venusaur, and Gliscor can even stand up to Tapu Koko. With it being a ground flying type, it's immune to Tapu Koko's Discharge attack, and its other moves hit for neutral damage. And if it needs to get a big hit on Tapu Koko, then it can use Giga Impact as well. Plus it can rebound to avoid being a sitting duck for Tapu Koko. And Gliscor has the honor of being the only one of Ash's Sinnoh Pokemon that was able to defeat Paul's Drapion after it swept half his team. So I believe if Ash needed to get a 6th Pokemon in absence of Naganadel, then a Gliscor would be the clear choice. So Ash's best team to defeat Professor Kukui is Pikachu, Naganadel, Infernape, Krookodile, Hawlucha, and Staraptor. We have incredibly versatile Pokemon here. There's heavy hitters, speedy Pokemon, and Pokemon that can handle multiple threats on Kukui's team, including some that could stand up against Tapu Koko. If Ash battled against Kukui with this team, I'm sure he'd clear Kukui's team. But what team do you think is best suited to battle Kukui? Should I have kept Lycanroc and Torracat on the team? Let me know below. Thanks for watching, and special thanks to our channel members for their extra support. For more best teams, click the videos on screen. Until next time, train hard, and I'll catch you guys later.